Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Pathfinder Second Edition panel of Gen Con 2019. Woo!
Look, we swapped chairs, Twitch.
That's right, we all moved around. I am Jason Bullman, the Director of Game Design, and this panel is how to make a character for Pathfinder Second Edition. And I'm going to let the rest of the panel here introduce themselves before we get started.
I'm Logan Bonner. I'm one of the designers who worked for the last 3+ years on this new game and has worked at Paizo for many years before that.
I'm Mark Seifter. I am also one of the designers who worked at Paizo, all of the things that Logan said, but a few fewer years than him.
So one of the things we're going to do here today is we're gonna go through the basics of character creation. How many of you have now already managed to get a book? How many of you managed to get through the line and get your book? All right, that's not too many just yet. But for the rest of you, good luck. May fortune ever be in your favor. The lines are long and full of terror, but. Today, what we're going to do is walk you through the process so that you understand what it's going to take to make a Pathfinder Second Edition character. And while we're doing that, we are going to make a character up here on stage. And that's why I was having everyone roll a die, because whoever rolled a 20, we're building your character. So congratulations, Zachary, I think it was, yes. So we're gonna be building Zachary's character, but Zachary's not going to get any input. We're gonna ask everyone else to help us make those choices, and poor Zachary's gonna be stuck with whatever character we make for him. So this should be a lot of fun. Let's see, to get started here, I'm just going to give you a basic overview of what we're going to be doing, and then we'll just slowly walk through the process and make it happen. So, creating a character in Pathfinder Second Edition, we define it as basically what we say is we're asking you to do your ABCs. Pick your ancestry, your background, and your class. Those are the three major decisions that define almost everything about your character. With those decisions in place, we know most of what we're going to know about your character. But within each one of those, we get other interesting choices to make. So we're going to walk you through this process. It's surprisingly pretty quick, especially once you know the game, which fortunately we do. But we'll walk you through it here anyway.
But we'll fill the whole panel with various screwing around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Yeah. And
can take an hour with
we'll
this.
also make sure toward the end to open it up to just generic Q&A about character generation and stuff like that. So we should have some time for that. So
Step one.
Well, step one is come up with a character concept.
Yep.
Right, just like with every role-playing game, you have to start out by being like, well, what am I trying to build? Now, we have a whole bunch of decisions to make, and instead of trying to randomly get a concept, I think we'll probably just skip the concept and build the character as we go, because Zachary doesn't need a character concept.
We're having random people decide things.
We'll fit the character concept to whatever crazy decisions we make by the end. But normally you might go, oh, I really want to play a dwarven barbarian who only eats mushrooms. That's the character I want to build. And
what kind of mushrooms, Jason? Normal mushrooms or?
Well, he only eats special mushrooms. Yeah, no, it's fine.
That's a new barbarian instinct.
How do you think he rages? All right.
Mushroom instinct.
So
The myconist.
The myconist.
It has one that makes
terrible.
you
That's
grow
terrible.
larger, like the giant one, because it's Mario.
We don't own that copyright. All right. We don't want to get sued. All right.
Yes, the iconic barbarian, Mario.
Oh, all right. So, normally, you'd sit down with the group. You might spend some time hanging out with your group, talking about what everyone's going to play, so that you have a balanced party. You might come up with characters totally in a vacuum and just be like, "This is the group we have. Best of luck to us." There's lots of different ways you can build characters. Most of this really hasn't changed from first edition or really any other role-playing game when making characters. We do stress that maybe having a session 0 isn't the worst thing in the world, where everybody gets together and make characters together, so that you do have a fun party that works well together, and you don't have somebody playing, I'm going to play the most lawful good champion that ever lawful gooded, and then you're like, I'm the rogue who steals everything. Those characters aren't going to have a good time together. Or maybe they'll have a great time together. I don't know. So, but for this character that we're building here today, we're gonna go ahead and skip the character concepts. We're just going to let
In
the
fact,
decisions.
for
We're
my
gonna go straight
form,
to A.
for my form factor use and the fact that I'm using the character sheet pack, which has special character sheets for each class, but I asked, since we're rendering them anyway, that we random a class first so that I can write it on the sheet for that class.
Oh,
Because
sure.
if you don't,
sure.
I can't write it on the
So
sheet for that class.
normally we say do your ABCs and you just kind of fill out some of it on scratch paper and then transfer it to a character sheet. But if you already know a class, we actually, the character sheet folio has classes in it. And the class sheets are kind of pre-filled out with some of your proficiencies and whatnot and some of the things that are automatic. So it makes building a character ridiculously simple. We can certainly do that. So let's go to the next slide. And inside chapter 1, you're going to see a spread of all of the ancestries you have available to you and all of the classes you have available to you. So first, so that we can be on the right sheet, we won't make any of the decisions about it yet. We'll do that later. But let's figure out what the class is just so that we have the right sheet that we're filling out information on.
And there's one of each of these sheets, and there are 2 of these panels. So whatever you get to pick here, you're denying the future panel.
Yeah, the future panel cannot make that character.
Do a defensive move, block the other one.
All right, so let's just see a raise of hands. First one I saw right here. You. Bard. We're building a bard.
Excellent.
Congrats, Zachary. You're playing a bard. Well, that's unfortunate because you're playing a bard.
Okay.
I'm going to staple this character to your core rulebook. All right.
We've decided it's an atheist bard.
Yeah, that's right. No deities for you. All right.
And no soothe, no healing.
Yeah, none of that. You're going to play music and you're going to like it. All right.
That does mean we're going to have to pick spells, so we're going to have to hurry through the rest.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll keep things moving.
That's
all right,
true.
so let's hop back to Ancestry, though. We're going to go back to step 1 so that we have that correct. So now when it comes to Ancestry, obviously you have Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Goblin, Halfling, and Human. Inside Human, you also have the Half-Orc and Half-Elf trees. Now, this is a bard, so, you know, over there, yeah, right there, yeah. I had Goblin and Orc. Well, so
Orc's not an option.
Orc isn't an option,
Half-Orc
so I'm
is
going to
an
go with Goblin. So Goblin Bard it is.
Okay.
Of course, the first character is a Goblin. Well,
And,
we'll
of,
get
and
to
of course, the first character is a bard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have expected anything
No.
different.
As a matter of fact, the second panel is going to be really sad when we make them pick other things. Yeah.
They can still be a goblin, though.
You're ruining the fun for all of them. All right, so the next thing we want to do, now that we've made our first major choice, we've picked our ancestry. I know we've picked class already, but we'll get to that. We've picked our ancestry. The next thing we want to do is make the choices within that allow your first
Show 'em.
level character to get put together. So
Okay.
within Goblin, you have your choice of heritage. And this is kind of what type of Goblin you are. Mark,
So
why don't
you have 5 choices. Charhide about fire, Iron Gut about eating stuff, Razor Tooth about sharp teeth, Snow about cold, and Unbreakable about like being harder to kill. Which
All right,
one?
A lot of cartilage in your
So
skull.
let's see a hand. I'm going to try and make sure I pick different hands every time. So right here, you were first.
Iron Gut. Okay.
A goblin bard who eats garbage. I'm liking this character, Zachary.
Alright.
You're going to have a great time playing this character.
Alright. So
He's going to run over to a
our
PFS table
next
and get him
choice
killed.
for Goblin is going to be an Ancestry feat. So there's a lot of first level Goblin Ancestry feats.
You're only going to know the name.
Yeah, I'm just gonna give you the name. I can't describe
So,
what they do.
so before you do that, so as a first level character, you pick your ancestry, you get to pick your heritage, and then you get 1 feat. This is one of a couple feats you might get at first level, depending on what class you are and what type of character you get. But feats are really the kind of the currency of the realm for picking things to customize your character. Your heritage you only get to pick once. That's just what type of goblin are you. But feats, you get feats every time you level up in Pathfinder Second Edition. Now at first level, you're guaranteed to at least have an ancestry feat. There's a decent chance based on your class that you might have a class feat as well. Not every class gets one at first level, but many do. So this is kind of your first spot where you really get to customize and set yourself apart from other characters.
And Goblin has maybe the most first level feats. So we've got the following options: Burn It, City Scavenger, Goblin Lore, Goblin Scuttle, Goblin Song, Goblin Weapon Familiarity, Junk Tinker, Rough Rider, and Very Sneaky.
Everybody's saying Goblin Song. I don't even know why it's a question.
I mean, that sounded
well, it depends
right.
on who we call them. They might be the one dissenter.
Yeah, that's right. But I think we can give Goblin Song.
No, we're just gonna go Goblin Song. That's Zachary, you're singing Goblin songs. I hope you enjoy it. Now for the one thing that's useful for us to be able to see, since we've already picked classes and backgrounds, I think we have a shot of what the character sheet looks like. Now this is the one that's in the back of the book, and you'll notice that's a lot of boxes. But each one of those has a level or a word at the end of it, especially on the feats page, that basically just tells you if you're of that level, you need to fill out that box. So you'll see in the top of the sheet is cut off just a hair in that slide, but it is what it is. The left-hand column, so the right-hand side of the sheet, left-hand column, at the very top is where your ancestry information goes. So you can see the box that says heritage, and you can see the box that says feet first. Yep. So those are the things you need to fill out.
So I need one more thing from you guys, and then we're done with ancestry. Being a goblin, you got dexterity and charisma boosts already, which is fantastic for a bard. And a wisdom penalty, which, that fits some guards.
So your stats are all going to start at 10. Boosts are going to increase by 2, and flaws are going to decrease by 2.
Right. And so I need another stat that is not dexterity or charisma to be boosted. You could put it in wisdom to cancel the flaw, or you could put it in strength, constitution, or intelligence. So pick whoever has
I saw back there.
That sounded right to me.
Yeah.
So Constitution it is. Thank you very much.
So what are our ability scores currently?
Our current ability scores at this stage of the process is 10 strength, 12 dex, 12 con, 10 int, 8 wisdom, and 14 charisma. But we've still got a little bit more to go. And that's because I prorated the charisma for being a bard, which technically in the ABCs normally comes in at the class.
So really we're at 12.
Yes,
yeah.
We would be at 12 if we hadn't chosen bard. We would be at 12.
Don't jump ahead. All right.
Any more than we have already jumped ahead.
The next thing we're going to do, we've done our ancestry now. That's it. We're done. That's it. We're good on ancestry. There's some information you're going to want to fill out there, like your speed and your the hit points you get from your ancestry. You're going to want to write down on a piece of scratch paper. But we're pretty good now. We can move forward to background. Now, there's a lot of backgrounds in the book, and we're not going to list them all.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call on someone who's going to tell me how this goblin bard grew up, and we'll find a background that fits, because there's like 35
and
of
if
them.
you tell us a background that doesn't work, we'll just write it down to put in a future book.
Yeah. So I saw a hand way in the back there, went up right away. He grew up in a ditch. That sounds an awful lot like street urchin to me.
Yeah, I think street urchin.
Yes, more street urchins.
All right. So we picked street urchin. So that means that he's going to be trained in thievery.
Yeah.
He is also going to be trained in a lore skill for the city where he grew up in a ditch. So whoever said it was a ditch in Magnamar.
In Magnamar.
Okay. So he has Magnamar lore.
Ditch lore.
Specifically the ditches.
He's got Magnamar lore, specifically the ditches.
So Zachary, when you're playing clerics, are they usually like thieves? Is that most of the time? Once.
Oh,
okay.
good.
He has the pickpocket skill feat, which makes him really good at picking people's pockets. And then we're going to take 2 ability boosts. First, one of them has to be dexterity or constitution, and one can be anything. And if you're going to be nice to Zachary, you might want it to be charisma.
So let's see.
You don't have to be
Let's
nice
see a
to
hand
Zachary.
to pick
Don't
the
have to.
first one right there. Dex or con? Con.
Okay, con.
Right.
Done.
And now the other one, and it can't be con.
But it could be dex if you wanted. All right.
Charisma,
you're so
look at
nice.
you.
You're
You're
great.
so kind. All right, and that's it. We've now picked our background.
The
We've
background
done everything we need
is
to do for
completely
that.
set.
So we know that this goblin comes from a long line of goblins who eat trash and grew up in the sewers of Magnamar. So I think we're starting to see a character concept come together here. Probably singing for spare change, or maybe singing and having people throw change at him to shut up.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll
I
make
don't know,
that
with
work.
that charisma?
Yeah, no, it's... Well, you can use it for good or ill.
So at this point, we're up to 14 con and 14 charisma, if not counting the bard.
All right. So let's see here. The next thing that we're going to go ahead and take a look at is the class. So now we're up to figuring out everything.
We're up to choose a class, which we've actually already done. Before we figure out the class details, we're going to do the determine ability scores step.
So you pick your class, but we're going to figure out your ability scores because they do kind of then determine a lot of the things about your class. So here's how that's going to work. We are now at the point where you get your class boost, which is going to be charisma because it's a bard. Yep. And then the next thing you're going to get is 4 free boosts. This is how you just kind of customize and finalize out your character. So you get 4 of your ability scores are going to go up by 2. They have to be in different ability scores. They can't be in the same one.
Pick 4 different ability scores, everybody.
Or maybe we should just say,
way to do this.
Pick 2.
Let's pick the 2 that he's not going to get a boost in.
That lets people be mean to him more.
Remind everybody what the ability scores are at right now.
They are currently at 10 strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 16 charisma. So it's looking pretty good for a bard so far. But
so I saw one hand right there.
Okay.
Wisdom.
So it's going to
not
stay
getting a boost in wisdom. Now, somebody can pick one more score, and that's the other score he's not going to get a boost in. And I'm going to go right here. Okay. Intelligence. Great.
Hey, they're nice. All right. So you get your charisma. So we have ended with 12 strength, 14 dexterity, 16 constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 18 charisma. So you don't know much, but you sure can convince people that you do.
That sounds survivable.
Maybe he became a politician off of the streets.
This is definitely shaping up to be a very fine goblin that grew up in a sewer. All right.
Now we're going to do the class details.
All right. So let's get over. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and flip over to the bard. Now, the first thing you do when you're filling out a character, once you get to your class, is you have a long list of your proficiencies.
And those are already boxed in on this sheet.
Because we're using one of the sheets for the class, those are already all filled in. But just so everybody gets a sense of those, why don't you go ahead and just list them real quick.
Here's what you got. You are going to be an expert in perception. You're going to be trained in fortitude and reflex, expert in will. You're trained in occultism, performance, and this is where we're going to get our first choice, 4+ intelligence modifier additional skills, aka 4, because we have 10 intelligence.
Thank you for not increasing intelligence.
Yeah.
That's one fewer question we have.
You're trained in simple weapons, plus the longsword, rapier, sap, short bow, short sword, and whip, as well as unarmed attacks. And your defenses are trained in light armor and unarmored defense, but nothing heavier than that. Your spells are trained in occult spell attacks and spell DCs.
So you heard trained and expert pretty frequently there. Trained just means when you're determining your bonuses, you're going to add your level +2, and expert means you're going to add your level +4. So like for their perception, they're going to be getting a +5, and for most of the trained things, they're going to be getting a +3.
Yep. Yeah. So his perception is going to be +4 because of the -1 from wisdom.
He's too busy singing to be paying attention. It's
great because clerics have really high wisdom, and this is the opposite of that. Yeah. So we do have a choice to make, which is to pick 4 skills that are not occultism, that are not performance, and that are not thievery, because we already got that for free. So
yeah, you can't use any of these to increase yourself above trained. These are just additional things that you are trained in.
I feel like this list is too long.
Yeah, we don't need to just say what skill you want. We'll tell you the nearest equivalent.
If it's a first edition skill.
Yeah, I mean, say a second edition or first edition skill.
They can actually read them up on the
screen. Right, yeah, they're there. Read it off of the screen. Yeah.
If you can. Right there.
Deception. Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Done. They've got that already.
Already got performance. Intimidation.
I heard intimidation and diplomacy, so I'll pick them both. One more
skill.
Medicine. One more. Medicine. Awesome.
Medicine.
Well, when you grow up on the streets. Okay. All right, we've got all of our skills.
Sounds like another goblin with a pickle pouch.
Awesome. Right. So, you gain some additional abilities that are already on the sheet. Occult spell casting with a spell repertoire of spells that you can spontaneously cast anything that's in the repertoire.
This is your bardic spell.
That's your bardic spells. We're going to have to pick those eventually. You also have composition spells. You have counter performance, a reaction that lets you stop like a heartbeat song or something like that for 1 focus point. And you have inspire courage composition cantrip that you can just every round inspire people's courage. But
By singing.
or however he wants to perform. It could be mime. I don't know.
Oh,
but
goblin mime. Fire him into the sun.
you're gonna have to pick first. Your first choice is what is your muse? As a bard, you have something that inspires you. And the 3 options in the core rulebook are an Enigma Muse, which is a mystery driving you to uncover hidden secrets of the multiverse. The Maestro, a muse that's a virtuoso inspiring you to reach greater heights of performance. Or Polymath, a jack of all trades flitting between skills and pursuits that inspires you to just try out everything in the world. So which of those 3 types of muses do we have? Polymath. Okay.
I was really hoping for Enigma Muse, just so that it's like, he's a sewer goblin who wants to unravel the mysteries of the universe.
With 10 intelligence.
So because of being a polymath, this bard is going to have the versatile performance feat, which lets you play an instrument to do a bunch of your social skills, and the unseen servant spell
So
to go get trash and bring it to you.
Yeah. To arrange your trash into pleasing piles. Yeah. That's
right.
very nice.
Oh, I just realized something, which is if we're using this, that means the next one is not only not going to be a bard, it's not going to be a spellcaster, because we're going to be using the spell sheet for this bard.
That's their burden to bear.
Okay. So we automatically gained Unseen Servant, and now we gain an additional 2 spells from the first level occult list and 5 spells from the cantrips. So I feel like let them pick the 2 first level spells, and I feel like we'll figure out the cantrips.
So what you're seeing, by the way, on the screen now is the backsides of the extra sheets from the core rulebook. These are a little different than the ones in the character sheet folio. The ones in the character sheet folio give you some more space for extra spell slots and stuff. But obviously, you can just make copies of additional pages. And if you're not playing a spellcaster, you don't need that page at all. There's then the page next to that, which is filled with like personal details and information that you can fill out about your character. Some people will, some people won't, right? So,
Yeah, we kind of figured that for the character sheet, if you're not playing a spellcaster, you can just use the first 2 pages. And
yeah, you can just go with the standard 2-sided piece of paper, and you're good to go. So Mark's filling out some of that. We need to pick 2 first-level occult spells. I realize some of you have books already. What's the page on that?
It's page 311 to 312.
So for those of you with books, it's going to be a lot easier if I call upon people with books.
The rest of you are just going to have to guess.
Yeah,
just going to name spells out of thin air.
Yeah, no, and if they have it, we'll.
They've got Magic Missile. They've got Soothe.
We're not giving him Magic Missile. Come on now. All right. Yeah, let's go back there. Ventriloquism.
Right.
Super useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's only got 1 more first level spell. Are you going to give him something he can use in combat?
Illusory disguise. That's what you get. Yeah, no.
Right.
This is what you got. Ventriloquism and illusory disguise. As it turns out, when you live in the sewer and you're constantly being hounded by the town guard, being able to change what you look like or throw your voice is really useful. So those. We'll make sure to give you some cantrips that'll.
All right. I'm gonna pick your 5 cantrips for you, and while I'm doing that, why don't you guys move on to? So the next step is buying equipment.
Yeah. So we've got. We're gonna go ahead and talk about buying your equipment. So before we do that, though, actually, to be clear, we've now basically built most of the character. That's kind of it. And we are running a panel, and that was 25 minutes. You can do it even faster, right?
And if you're doing your own character, you might be taking some time to read through spells. If you're playing a non-spellcaster, you're probably going to have a feat and have some time to pick a feat and that kind of stuff.
Instead of randomly giving punitive things to poor Zachary here, you might take some care.
18 charisma. That's not
You guys got him to 18 charisma. I wasn't
could
sure
have very easily ended up with like a 14. All right.
Yep.
So the next step is going to be to pick your gear. We'll keep this relatively simple. Characters start with 15 gold pieces now. That's a smaller number of gold than you might be familiar with in first edition, right? In first edition, generally you had 100 or 150.
prices are also lower.
Yeah, we also changed the prices so that for your first couple levels, silver pieces are actually valuable treasure, as opposed to just automatically being like copper. I throw it at the nearest kobold's face.
So for ease, I think we should make them buy the bard kit first and then fill out the rest of what they want.
Yeah, I'm mostly concerned about buying a weapon. That's
so the bard kit
with those spells, yeah, you want a decent weapon.
Yeah.
I got him telekinetic projectile and daze for some attack cantrips, but the bard kit comes with a dagger, rapier, and a sling with 20 sling bullets as part of its kit. What we have here, and I'll show you the page.
Is that page 289?
In page 289 is a kit for each class. That's a fairly good starting kit. The bard kit is only going to use up 4 bulk out of the and 3 light out of the 6 bulk you can carry, so you've got a pretty good leeway to pick up a few like light items as well. And it only costs 6 gold and 8 silver out of your 15, so you've got more than half of it left for purchases. What you'll wind up with is studded leather armor. So thank whoever put that last point in strength, because that is exactly enough strength to not take any penalties from it. A dagger, a rapier, the sling with the 20 bullets, an adventurer's backpack, which is full of a certain degree of things that you can look up. It comes with basic things like rope, a bandolier, a handheld musical instrument, and a sheath for your weapon. So that is everything that he already has from the bard kit.
But let's spend some more of his money.
Yeah. How much money do you have left?
He has 8 gold and 2 silver left, because we we did the subtraction for you and we tell you how much is left.
So let's find 3 more items to equip this poor character, and think basic items here, folks.
Well, and this character loves eating things and drinking things, presumably. So we might want to look at some potions. We've got a little kind of selection of like, here are some first level commonly available potions that are in the equipment chapter instead of just back with the magic item.
Yeah, so you can start with like a minor potion of healing or something. So all right here. He's got to have an alchemist fire. That's fair.
Okay. There is a slight problem with our strategy, which is that there is one of the copy of the sheet with the equipment.
I will figure it out.
Okay.
I mean, that's a sheet for all your equipment over an adventuring career. We can probably just make some notes on the goblin.
There's.
Let's just put the equipment on that goblin sheet, and then someone makes a martial character, they might have more equipment. They can steal the equipment sheet.
I'll put it in his general feats.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna put in his general feats.
If you level this character up later, Zachary, you're not going to get any general feats because you already filled
You have studded leather armor at level 3.
Your general feats are being taken up by studded leather armor. All right. But yeah, let's go ahead and buy an alchemist fire, the lesser alchemist fire, which I think is.
Is it 3?
It might be 3.
It's in there.
Yep. Actually, Logan, can you look that up? Sure. Well, oh wait, no, because I'm literally looking at the page that I'm on for the thing that I'm writing down.
I'll have it open.
We're
near
experts.
You.
It's 3. Yeah, it sounds like 3. All right. 3 it is.
So that's about half of what we have left.
And not much left, but you do now have an alchemist fire, so good on you. All right,
lesser
over here.
Fire?
No, it's
or
minor.
minor. Okay.
A pot. Is there some sort of cook implement?
That would be here if it was.
Cookware, 1 GP.
All right.
All right, we're gonna get cookware. All right, so that leaves 4 gold and 2 silver left.
How much bulk is the cookware?
Oh yeah.
It's 2.
2? Sorry, we bought it for you. You're now encumbered. Because you're covered in pots and pans. Because it's not just one pot. It's like a bunch. You're like jangling around with pots and pans. No.
You can use the cast iron as a shield.
Yeah, sure. Some gyms might allow that. I mean, maybe as a buckler. In fact, yeah, the pots and pans could be his instrument. He could just be playing those.
We didn't decide what type of instrument you had, but that is an important decision for a bard, I think. It's a kazoo.
So let's do this.
He actually isn't encumbered yet because he took 12 strength.
He's getting
barely, but as soon as they buy anything else that is of at least 1 bulk, he will.
All right, a heavy musical instrument is 16 bulk.
Wait, you give him a grand piano?
Cello. All right, we're gonna give him 1 more piece of equipment.
Oh yeah, because he has heal.
That's 5 gold though.
Oh, he can't afford it. He just
it.
barely can.
Yeah, no, sorry. The Alchemist Fire. He had to have the Alchemist Fire. All right, so we're gonna give him.
Oh yeah, because he's a pickpocket.
Thieves Tools 3 GP.
He can afford that. He has about a gold in pocket change left. So how much does that light bulk?
Yes, it is.
Oh, he squeezed out with randomly assigned heavy cookware.
Just barely.
Okay, so that leaves him with
Is it a
1 gold
something?
and 2 silver in change.
What's something cheap?
No, but Jason said that would be the last thing,
Oh,
so
that's
I'll
the
have a
last
We
little
can,
bit
we
of
can live him
change.
with a little bit of pocket change. That's
All right.
that's fine.
All right.
And his bulk is 6 bulk and 5 light. He can carry 5 more light things. All right.
All right.
So,
So at this point in time, you're kind of reaching the point of character generation where you're going to go through and fill out a whole lot of details.
should we make him have an alignment and deity that they chose for him?
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds
Since
reasonable.
he loves clerics so much.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and
we'll need to randomly source a name as well.
We'll get a name in just a second. Let's pick a non-evil alignment, just so
Aw.
that this character is PFS
Well,
legal,
let's-
just in case.
We'll ask one question for the first axis and one question for the second axis.
That's fair. All right, right there. We'll just take that. I don't want to belabor it too much.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So
I
chaotic
wanna
neutral,
belabor
and let's pick a deity. Right. Yes, that's it. He's a worshiper of Rasmir.
That's why his charisma's so high and his other
That's
ability
right.
scores are so
All
bad.
hail the living God.
That's
Have
great.
fun in the boneyard. It's going to be great. All right.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. All right.
Okay.
All right, so what are we missing? We're short a name.
Yeah, we're short a name.
We can fill in the level.
The player name is Zachary, so I can.
Yeah,
fill
no, we
that
got that.
in. The level is 1. Experience points is 0. So yeah, I think name is the only thing that they have to pick at this point, and gender and pronouns.
Well, we'll leave that. That's fine. But let's go ahead and get a name. I saw a hand shoot up right there. Goober the Gutter Goblin. That's his stage name, to be fair. I mean,
We've got a nice large box for the character name, so that should
Yeah.
all fit in there.
Yeah, that all fits easily, and I left space for gender and pronouns.
his real full name is Goobtholomew.
That's right.
The third, yeah, no. Very proud lineage of gutter goblins. All right. That's kind of it. Like other than like filling out the formulas, right? So
Yep,
all
that's
those
what I'm
things that
doing
were
right
like,
now.
oh, you're trained. Well, your level +2 is a 3, and we would add an ability score, so if we were talking about, oh, you're trained in diplomacy,
He's 7
that would
at
be
that.
that would be level +3 plus your charisma modifier. So that's level +2. Which
Yeah,
is going to be a
he's
3.
gonna be 7 at
plus
that.
charisma is 4, so it's going to be 7, right?
Whereas
You
his
just do all
Magnum,
that.
his Magnamar lore is 3, and his medicine is a delightful 2, even though he's trained.
Yeah, so if you run up to Goob and are like, I'm dying, I'm bleeding, he's just going to stick a finger.
He also
in the,
doesn't have a
like,
healer's kit because he couldn't afford it, so he takes an additional -2 penalty for improvising
Dude.
and using pickles or something.
Yeah, using whatever he could find in the gutter. It's not the best medicine, but it's what he can afford.
Laughter is the best medicine, so he'll take hideous laughter when he can.
What's he doing? His best. All right.
So, yeah, I filled everything out except his melee strikes. So I'll fill out his melee strikes.
There we go. All right. So
got it. I can hand it
here
off
in
to him.
35 minutes, we have crowdsourced an entire character from beginning all the way to end. And that is how you build a character in Pathfinder Second Edition. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. If folks would like to queue up, if you have any questions about character generation, or to be honest, any questions about the game itself, we'll be happy to take them. We're going to go ahead and queue up every couple questions. We'll try and take a question from Twitch. So if folks just want to queue up there at the microphone, if you have a question,
And
we'll be
you will
happy
be
to answer them.
you will be broadcast on Twitch if
Yeah.
you're on the microphone, so make sure you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, if you're not okay with that, don't walk up to the microphone.
So I have a question about PFS. In Pathfinder First Edition, there is the 150 gold that you would get, but obviously that wasn't in the core rulebook for that. Everyone got, depending on the class. Is there any differences in character creation that we have to watch out for PFS? Because I will be playing
Mark,
tomorrow.
do you have
I mean,
an
they have
answer
the
for
same.
that?
Oh, So they have the same amount of money, but Zachary, do you plan on playing this character in Pathfinder Society?
Sure.
Okay, in that case, just really quick, just to show you how little else you have to do and have a Pathfinder Society legal character, I'm going to crowdsource 2 more options. I need a faction. Are you a member of the Horizon Hunters that goes around the world searching for stuff? Are you a member of the Envoys Alliance who help out the other Pathfinders? Are you a member of the Vigilant Seal who protect, contain, and destroy dangerous items? Are you a member of the Grand Archive who publish a lot of information? Or 2 of the minor factions, the Radiant Oath, who are like very do-gooders and try to help people out? Or the Verdant Wheel, which is a nature faction about the cycles of nature. So somebody pick one of those, and I will write it. Verdant Wheel. Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
You know what? They talk about the purging fire in Verdant Wheel.
Oh, that's fair.
Definitely
Yeah,
live
no,
on
so
the
that-
list. And then last decision, which is there are 3 schools of training in Pathfinder Society. The Swords teaches basically combat techniques. The Spells teaches magic, and the Scrolls teaches about like learning and knowledge. Also, you could be field commissioned if you didn't get trained, but you were so great that they just brought you in for that. Which of those 4 things? Sword, spell, scrolls, or field commission? Field commission. All right.
Training for Goop the Gutter Goblin? I don't think so.
All right. And now that is all. There
That's
are
it?
some other choices you can make later in Pathfinder Society, but that is it. That's all
So-
you had to do, and now you have a Pathfinder Society legal character.
So, and I think you were also asking if there were any other differences, like were there
Yeah.
elements that are like, oh, it works this way in the core rulebook and this way in Pathfinder Society?
Is there also anything that's
aren't.
taken out that's banned?
I don't.
There's one skill feat that of all the common options is banned is connections, because it's like the GM decides you knew somebody in this area, and in Pathfinder Society, since it's an organized play setting,
That's
that's
impossible
really
for us to
hard or
determine.
impossible
Yeah.
to use.
You don't want to have
that's
like
it.
a different connection every single session.
There are
because
6,
they have a different
and it's supposed to be in different areas, and it's just a lot of work for the GM in organized play. There's 640 pages. That is the only common option that is banned.
Yeah, one thing.
So I have a question from Twitch from a nervous person.
Twitch.
How does alignment affect character generation in meaningful ways?
So there's a couple different ways that alignment impacts your character.
It's mostly going to be for certain classes.
Yeah.
So the champion has to be certain alignments. In the core rulebook, we have just the good alignments. There's a champion option for each of those. The one you already know is the paladin. There's also a redeemer for neutral good, and there's the liberator for chaotic good. Then the cleric is going to be limited to kind of their gods allowed alignments. And those are not quite as formulaic as they were in first edition, where it's kind of like, well, if they're this alignment, you can pick anything within 1 step. Now we kind of looked at the individual gods and said, these are the alignments that this god will allow. And if you're, designing your own gods, you would do something similar to build out your god.
Well, it allowed us also to make sure that we didn't have some, like, it was just a blanket rule in first edition that was like, you have to be within 1 step of your deity, which meant that, you could be a neutral follower of an evil god. And for some gods, that's probably fine. But there are certainly some evil gods that you can't credibly worship and not be evil. It's like, Rovagug wants to eat the world. You don't get to be neutral and want to eat the world. That's
you
not,
can't stand by
those
them.
are not compatible.
But most of the other alignment restrictions, if I remember correctly, those are the only 2 classes that have any. Like the barbarian doesn't have one, the monk doesn't have one, the druid
That's right.
doesn't have one.
So
Yeah,
you
no,
can now be a barbarian monk multi-class, and it's a really fun multi-class if you pick the barbarian, this animal, and uses unarmed attacks.
Yeah, we stripped a lot of that away. So, next question, please.
Actually, it dovetails in very well with the multi-class thing. What is the multi-class analog called now, and can you expand on the mechanics?
It's called multiclassing, and basically the way it works now is instead of mixing and matching that you took a level in one class or another, you always progress your main class. Every time you level up, you never have to divert and lose out on the ability to take more powerful options from that class. But you just, instead of some of your class's feats, you take the things you wanted out of the other class.
And to be clear, these are multi-class archetypes. So archetype is kind of anything that you kind of do in that similar fashion. And the core rulebook has a multi-class archetype for each class.
So at its heart, every time you gain an even numbered level in a class, you get a class feat. And usually what you spend that on is things to make you a better, more powerful member of your class. So if you're playing a fighter, they would be combat abilities. If you're playing a spellcaster, they might be things that add to the spellcasting capabilities of your character. If you're a bard, they're going to be things that allow you to sing better or eat more trash out of the sewer. I don't know. We'll find out.
And to use Zachary's bard as an example of what you could do, though, you guys built him with kind of a little bit of a thievery angle, right?
No.
So if he multi-classed into rogue at 2nd level, he could get a new bard feat, but rogue is actually pretty appealing. He has 14 dexterity, that meets the requirement. He would gain an extra skill feat, the rogue's surprise attack class feature that lets enemies be flat-footed if Zachary goes first in combat. It would give him training in stealth or thievery, plus another skill of his choice, and since he already had thievery, it would replace the thievery with something else, so he would get 3 more skills. And then he would be trained in rogue class DC, which he wouldn't need yet. All for 1 feat at 2nd level. He would get 3 skills, a skill feat, and surprise attack. So that's, I mean, you could find a really good bard thing at 2nd level. That's pretty appealing.
So the way that works is you can then just take your class feats and start devoting them to an archetype and buying things from the archetype. So it's like you took the entire archetype and bolted it to your character, and now those are class feats that you can take as opposed to the other class feats. Now, the only restriction we put on that is we say, yeah, once you take the dedication, you need to take a couple feats from that before we let you take another dedication to grab another archetype and bolt it to your character. And we do that so that if you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to be a bard who has some rogue abilities, oh, and I also want some fighter abilities, well, take a couple more rogue abilities first so that it solidifies the concept in your character and you're not just taking it for one thing. It does force your character to gel a little bit more before you move on to the next thing. But that's how all of that works. That's how every archetype works. That's how multiclassing works, is you just start swapping out some of the core of the class that you are, some expansion into that, into expansion into another arena.
Okay, thank you.
We have another question from Twitch from Rapid.com. Are there any variants of bardic powers that don't require musical instruments to use?
Well, pretty much none of them requires a musical instrument to use. You're gonna
sing, you can orate,
perform, you can you orate, you can dance, you will perform with your bard the way that you want. There's only one thing that the class has, which is certain of them require you to be using a visual performance where so people can see you doing it, like dancing, and certain have to be auditory so people can hear you, like singing or a musical instrument. So you can't mix and match those without, I think there's a feat that actually lets you mix and match those, but normally you can't. But other than that, you can do whatever kind of performance you want that can be heard or that can be seen.
And I picture that our goblin friend here is probably doing some form of pan flute. And by that I mean he has a flute and he hits pans with it.
Well, he also has a goblin song feat, so singing is probably part,
there's some singing in there
probably
too.
Part of his,
it's a cacophony,
his
really.
repertoire.
By the end, most enemies are just like, yeah, I give up. You can, yeah, just take the treasure. I don't. Please just stop. Do we have more questions? Oh, you're kind of locked in. All right, well, why don't you say it and we'll repeat it. So the question was, what's the biggest thing that's changed from the playtest that was kind of the hardest to figure out?
The math?
Yeah, we changed the scale of the proficiency bonuses.
Yeah,
that probably was the most wide-reaching thing. Resonance also got removed, which necessitated a lot of changes, but it just wasn't quite the sheer scope of the.
There was also a giant scope change to the spells chapter, but it wasn't like one change. It was tons of changes. So I would say probably, other than just additions that we added pages, things that were altered, that were long undertakings, were math, removing resonance, and therefore changing the magic items and making a lot of changes on the spells.
Yeah, I think that I've been asked a lot, like, oh, what's changed from the playtest? And I'm like, everything and nothing.
The core of the game was very successful and stayed the same.
The core is what was working. That we kept. We tinkered with almost everything else. And a lot of the times it was big global changes like, oh, we decided to rename, circumstance modifier. Conditional modifiers to status so that
Jason wouldn't do the exact thing that he just
did.
I
wouldn't do the thing I just did, which was say, oh, we have circumstance modifiers and conditional modifiers. those two sound really close to one another, and checking to see which one it is, it's really easy to get them mixed up in your head. But little things like that, it's a little change. We just changed it from conditional to status. That way it's further apart word-wise. But that makes the game a lot easier to understand, because it's just simpler to remember that those are two different things.
And similarly, we changed the sluggish condition to the clumsy condition because it sounded like slowed and sluggish sounded really similar. And you'll also notice like a couple of the things we mentioned, the math and the spells, both of those spoke to a part of the playtest where people were finding that spellcasters were not being as effective as they wanted. And you know, they were kind of nerfed in too many different ways from first edition, and so we kind of like made them more successful, made their spells a little more impactful, while still keeping them about the power level that we wanted them in the long run.
Yeah. Well, let's see where we're at here. I always like to end these things about 10-2, so we have technically in the room. So I have time for like maybe one or two more questions. We got someone in the back there who's kind of locked in. We'll repeat your question. Sure.
So the question was the 3 rogue rackets in the core rulebook: the thief, the ruffian, and the scoundrel. None of those 3 gives you something that directly speaks to a ranged attack. Is there a plan to immediately put out one that does? So for the rogues rackets, the rogues racket is, to be clear, not a combat style necessarily. It's about when someone's creating a Ocean's 11 style heist, what did they hire you for the crew for? And to be fair, maybe someone did hire you to the crew to be the sniper who was on the roof who was going to pick somebody off. But it wouldn't just be archery, combat style. The one who goes into combat styles a lot, and that's their main thing, is the fighter. We would definitely make cool feats for the rogue that involve being a ranged attacker, but I think we would do that probably sooner. I would say we would be more likely to see something that feels like someone who has a role in a crew of thieves, like a mastermind who plots things, before we necessarily saw one that was just like an archer. But I've been wrong in the past.
Well, we would have to say something like, okay, what does it mean to be a sniper rogue, or what are like, or say it's the lookout, and so it's like I'm going to stay at a distance. I get, you know, some special perception things, and I'm better at ranged attacks because that's kind of my spot, like physically my location.
And that would make sense. I think every, you know, looking at this book, and now that all of our secrets are laid bare, there's so many places we can take it. And this isn't the panel where we're going to be making any announcements where we're going. For that, you want to make sure you're at the Paizo 2019 and Beyond seminar on Saturday. That's the one where we're going to be making big announcements about what's coming out in the future. But it's not hard to imagine some of the directions we might go. And just asking questions like, wow, this seems really cool. I wish there was a version that did X, Y, or Z. Yeah, those are the same questions we're asking ourselves all the time. To be like, where do we want to take this? Where can it go? And the sky's the limit. So I don't know that Archer will be necessarily the way, but Lookout or Sniper could be. I don't know yet. We'll see as we kind of explore all the space that we've now created with this game. All right, I have time for just one last question. If anybody has one,
Does
is there any more on Twitch?
Does Twitch have one?
No, we're all good. Okay.
They know how to make a character now. We've done 2 videos before this.
Yeah, no, it's fine. All right, so we have one last one right here. We'll take this one and then we'll call it.
I've got a question for you on those sheets that you have. Okay, let's say I want to take a wizard, and eventually Vanessa will make the kineticist. So I want to multi-class in the kineticist. How am I going to be able to do that on those specialty sheets? Or
well, if you want to multi-class into a class that doesn't exist yet, then
well, I'm just as an example. Let's say wizard.
Let's say it was wizard and then
fighter.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, all you have to do is, let's say you were bard, because we have the bard. But this sheet is almost the same. Is when you get to your second level or your feat, you would write in fighter dedication, and then now you got it. And then your 4th level feat, or 6th level feat, let's say you took attack of opportunity, you would write attack of opportunity. And so every time you take, there's a space for it every time you take it.
The archetypes all use your class feat slots,
Right.
and you have an open space on your character sheet for each class feat.
On the
So-
regular sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What about the specialty
No,
sheets?
they have that space
They have
too.
it on there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
In either case, the answer is the same. When you would get a new class feat, you would just write down fighter dedication. That's the name of the feat, and
Okay.
you took that feat as opposed to taking extend spell or whatever, right? You know, some random feat, right,
Okay.
from the wizard list.
Okay.
And those just fill out your character sheet. So like. At its heart, it's just you're just making slightly different choices, but they're still the same type of choice that everyone else makes. It's not like it's an extra thing.
Will that work the same way when the Lost Omens comes out with the archetypes?
Yep.
Same exact thing.
Exact same
You
way.
would write in you are a Lion Blade dedication. One of the players in my War for the Crown game has that dedication. And then if you took the Lion Blade feat that lets you spend an action to just give yourself a mischance for a round, Flicker, you would just write Flicker at level 12.
So if you're interested in learning a little more, here at 4 p.m. on the GenCon Twitch stream, I'm going to be running a live game where all 4 players are playing rogues. All 4 of them.
You wouldn't do Harsk, huh?
with different archetypes and directions. So it's 4 rogues that all play drastically differently. So
I'll have to catch it on Twitch.
We're doing that from 4 to 6 on the GenCon Twitch. So if you're around, make sure to check it out. I think it's over in the West End too. There might even be seats still available in the crowd. All right, everybody. I want to thank you guys for coming. I hope you have a fantastic GenCon 2019. I hope you get a chance to go pick up the book, and we will see you at the next panel. Thank you.